Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, how you doing, Michael?
I'm good. Do you think it's true that white people generally cannot dance very well?
I can't dance very well,
Oh, okay. All right.
so I guess that's just a myth.
It's just a myth.
I
It
guess
is.
I'm not a very good dancer.
It's
If you
not a
watch
myth
dance,
that white people cannot dance. It is a myth that all black people can dance because I've known plenty of black people that cannot dance.
well, maybe that's what it is. Because Dancing with the Stars, there's very few African Americans on that show.
Did you see Clyde Drexler on there?
Yes, I did.
He can't dance.
He proved our point.
Okay, well, you sound a little bowed up, Gaylon, so I'm guessing you're not very happy with me.
Well, it's not that. It's
You sound a little bowed up.
Calling. No, I was calling. I heard that you were talking about the Black Firefighter Association on your show yesterday, and I thought I would send you an email and see if I could come on the show and talk about some of the, I guess, the problems that you have with my organization, because I believe that you have the wrong perception about the organization, why it started, and why does it exist.
Okay.
Tell
me first how you think I'm wrong.
Pardon me?
Tell me first how you think I'm wrong.
Well, like I said, I don't listen to your show, so I don't know all the things that you do say about the show, but I do know you say, from what I hear, you say a lot of bad things about the show. I mean, about our organization. And I thought, me being the president, that I should see if I can contact you and come on your show, and maybe I can answer some of the questions that you have or some of the problems that you have with my organization.
I'm going to ask you the honest questions here. If we have an association that represents firefighters, why do we need one that represents just black firefighters?
Okay, well, the organization was started here in Houston back in 85, 86. And we are a chapter of an international association of black professional firefighters that was started in 1970 on the East Coast. And the reason the organization was back then is because African-American firefighters didn't feel like they was getting fair representation from their local union. So they thought they needed a voice of their own. Now, my organization here in Houston, we don't only have black members. We also have white members and Hispanic members.
In the Black Firefighter Association?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. We have white members and we have Hispanic members. We're not just all black. We're not 100% black. So the reason we started, we came on as a chapter of the international, is because we here didn't think we was getting fair representation from the local union, and I think that is a fair assessment. I really believe that to be true.
What do the white firefighters do?
As far as what do you mean? What do they do?
Like at a meeting, when y'all are having a meeting, you go, man, being black and everything, I don't think we're being treated right. Do the white guys go, that's right?
Well, I didn't say they did that, but sometimes you go to meetings to try to speak, and they won't let you speak. I've known African Americans to go to the local union to speak about issues or whatever, and they shut them off. Don't let them get up and address their issue and things like that. I was a member of that organization for 17 years.
Are you no longer a member?
No, I got out when Steve Williams was the union president.
You didn't care for Steve?
I didn't get out behind no black issue, no white issue, or anything. I just didn't think he was representing the fighters as a whole. I just thought he was doing a terrible job, and I figured I could take my money and do something else with it. So I got out the union. That was my own decision.
And you know what?
Based on anyone else.
And you are entitled to it. I don't have a problem with that. But
absolutely.
But Gaylon, let me ask you this. So
yeah.
So you say, well, it's always been called Black Firefighter Association. Here were the reasons. Do you think that in 2011 we have the same need for an organization that calls itself the Black Firefighter Association as we did in 1970?
Absolutely.
Do you think
I believe that.
In your opinion, you think blacks are treated differently than whites?
It's society, so why wouldn't it happen in the fire department? It happens in society, so why would the fire service be any different? See, the problem in the fire service is we want to say that there's no discrimination, there's no sexism, and there's no racism. Well, if it happens in society, why wouldn't it happen in the fire department? In the fire service as a whole, it's there. Have I ever had any problems? No, directly I haven't. But indirectly, I've had a whole lot of problems. Because if you discriminate or show any kind of racism toward another black firefighter or a female, it affects me also. That's the way I look at it.
And what forms of discrimination are you alleging? Like, what would be an example?
I mean, you're saying what would be exempt from being discriminated against?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, African Americans, they're not getting hired nowadays. I mean, they're not hiring many African Americans. You may get 2 in this class, you may get 2 in that class, and I think that's a problem with the hiring process. I have no problem with white firefighters getting hired, white guys getting hired in the fire department. But when are we going to hire some black firefighters? I mean, we have qualified black guys out there that are not getting hired. So I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem to me.
Okay, but how do you know if you're not looking at the data? How do you know that there aren't any firefighters being hired that are black?
It's easy to look at the numbers. All you have to do is go back and look at the numbers who've been hired in the last 10 years. How many are whites? How many black? How many Hispanics? How many females?
What if
All you have to do is go look at the numbers. Now, I can get the numbers for you and come on your show another day and talk about those numbers if that's what you want me to do. The reason I wanted to call your show today,
Gaylon, I'm not adversarial. I just have a different opinion. I'm not trying to belittle you or argue with you. I'm just asking questions.
No, it's not an argument. I'm not arguing with you. What I'm saying is, if you look at the numbers, and I can get the numbers, they're easily accessible. You can get the numbers.
Right.
You know how to get the numbers. I mean, you was a politician. You said on
No, I was a statesman, Gaylon. There's other people who are politicians.
Okay, well, you're a statesman if that's what you want to call it. But you sit on city council, and you know how the hiring process. You know how to get the numbers. You know how to get the data. How many been hired? How many females? How many African Americans? How many Hispanics?
Okay.
You know how to do all that. But now I can get those numbers for you, and we can come on another day and sit down and talk.
Well, we could, but let me ask you this. Let's talk about the captain's exam. You know, the 7 firefighters that filed the lawsuit.
Right.
Okay. The lawsuit was based – there was nobody that said in the lawsuit, hey, we scored better than the other guys and you didn't promote us. The argument was, no, we didn't score higher than the other guys, but we'd still like to get promoted, right?
I'm assuming.
Right. Well, that's stipulated. That's a stipulated fact.
My opinion on their lawsuit, or if you want to get concrete answers on the lawsuit, I can put you with the white Brazil, who's the plaintiff, and I can get you their lawyer, Denny, and they'll come on your show and they'll do a conference call. I'm pretty sure, and they'll answer all your questions.
Denny who?
Denny Thompson is his name. He was a lawyer. He was a lawyer for that lawsuit.
Okay, but let me ask you
this. The plaintiff on that lawsuit was the white Brazil. But now, when you want to talk about the promotional system, talk about preferential treatment and things like that, there's always been preferential treatment in the promotional system in the Houston Fire Department.
Well, that may or may not be true.
If you had a certain last name and you was on the list, they probably was going to get to you.
Okay, but I got that. But let me ask you this, Gaylon.
Okay.
If you say there's always been preferential treatment and you're looking at the output, you're looking at the end, let's say more white people promoted or more white people this, or you could also argue that colorblind test that everybody took, that must have been preferential treatment because the blacks were outperformed by the whites, when in fact some people would argue no, it was just a test. They didn't happen on that test to outperform.
I mean, that's how you want to put it.
Well, let me ask you this.
Go ahead.
Do you think the NBA discriminates against white people?
No.
Well, when's the last? I would argue it does, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Why?
When's the last time you saw a white all-star in the in the NBA? Larry
Bird.
Larry
Kevin
Bird.
Love. Kevin Love played in February.
Okay, give me another one.
That's his name, Kevin Love. He played this past year in February. This past February, and all.
Well, no, I understand, but on average, 4 out of every 5 starters in the NBA is black, and blacks are outnumbered in this country. What, 5 or 6 to 1? Now there's no other way to look at that except.
We'll go to basketball for a brief moment because I want to get back to the fire department. But if you want to talk about basketball, they get the best players. And then when you talk about a promotional exam, just because you scored 100 on a test, that does not make you the best officer.
Well, then how are we going to decide who's the best officer? What would be an objective standard?
It's the same way they do for paramedics. Okay, if I went to paramedic school and I graduated from paramedic school, I think you have to have an 85 average. I graduated with an 85 average. When I finish paramedic school, they're going to send me to a station, and they're going to put me with another paramedic, and he's going to precept me, which is assessment. He's going to precept me for so many months. And after I finish that, I'm going to go before the medical director and his panel, and they're going to assess me. And they decide whether I make it or not. That's how you get the most qualified paramedics in the Houston Fire Department.
But what if that panel goes for a white guy over a black guy?
It doesn't make a difference. They got the best qualified guy.
But,
so if you did that on the promotion exam, if I make 100 and John Brown makes 100, then you take me before a panel. You take John Brown before a panel, and you assess us. And that decides who the best officer is.
But
if I lose, I lose.
No, but here's the deal. No, Gaylon. If you lose,
no, wait a minute.
You might not sue, but other blacks are going to say, I didn't lose because I lost. I had to have lost because I'm black. That's what they said with the exam.
No, that's not what they said with the exam. Like I said, I can't explain their lawsuit. You have to call and talk to Dwight Brazil and Denny Thompson. I guarantee you they'll give you all the answers you want.
You can't tell me that it's fair that white people cannot get a starting position in the NBA, and you got blacks outnumbered 6-1 in this country, but beating whites 4-1. You can't tell me that if I try out for an NBA team, they're gonna give me a fair shot. You can't tell me that.
If you can play, you can play. Larry Bird can play, so he started.
No, he was the last one. It's changed since then.
He was the last one. You got Kevin. You got Kevin Love playing. You got Steve Nash. Steve Nash won 2 MVP awards in the NBA. He's a white guy.
It took you – how long did it take you to come up with him? Okay, give me another one. He's Canadian, though.
No, he's a white guy.
But he's Canadian. That's a difference.
You can only be white if you're an American.
Well, no, I'm saying white Americans. In the NBA –
none of us are Americans. None of us are Americans. We all from somewhere else.
All right, Gaylon.
Yes, sir.
Now, I know you don't like my basketball analogy, but the point of an analogy is to get outside of the immediate facts and look at the patterns and see what we can learn from that.
Right.
I could argue – see, you're arguing results-oriented. If blacks don't outperform, if blacks aren't being hired in the same numbers as they represent the population, then that must mean that somebody's picking on them. But that doesn't necessarily mean that at all. I don't argue that whites are – I do believe whites are being discriminated against in the NBA. But you could look at that and go, hey, you know what? Somebody doesn't like white people. That's why they're not getting to start.
Okay.
The only position they'll let white people play in the NFL anymore is offensive line, and that's only if you're bigger and fatter than the black guy that's your competition. You can't even play quarterback anymore. Used to they'd let the white people play quarterback if nothing else. They won't even let them do that anymore.
Well, they're getting the best players. It's all about who's the best. It's all about who's the best player. I want the best player. You want to win, right? So you're gonna get. But
Gaylon, we all agree.
White, black, Hispanic, Indian, Japanese. You want the best players because the bottom line is to win.
By the way, Gaylon, you should have said Dirk Nowitzki. But again, he's European.
Right, but I mean, you're European.
No, I'm American.
Okay, you was born in America, but your ancestors are from somewhere.
What does your passport say?
Mine says African American.
No, it doesn't.
I think that's what mine say. I'm not.
No, you look on the front of it. Whether you get into this country or not, whether you need your visa, all that.
Oh yeah.
All that is based on the country of your nationality.
Right.
It's not based on some ancestry. And if you're going to go into the ancestry, then you got to ask yourself when it ends. You know, at what point in Europe? Because is it the Ottoman Empire?
You know what? I can tell you this here, since you want to talk about that. They've called me a whole bunch of things since I've been born. I've had 5 or 6 different nationalities.
Like what?
Black. I've been black. I've been Negro. I've been Afro-American. I've been Black American. Now I'm Afro-American. Now I'm African-American. So they've called me all kinds of things. But they've only called Michael Berry one thing.
The best.
White,
the czar of Texas radio.
One or the other.
But no.
So I even have a problem with that. But let's get back to the fire department.
With the czar of Texas radio?
I want to ask you this here. What is your problem with the Houston Black Firefighters Association? Because if I can recall, back when you ran for city council, the firefighters supported you, along with black firefighters also.
Yes.
You used black firefighters place of business as your celebration place, your campaign headquarters.
Whoa!
Wait a minute. The black African American preachers bagged Michael Berry. Black people in the black African American neighborhoods bagged Michael Berry.
Can't blame him for that.
For some reason, you have a problem with black people now.
No.
And you have a serious problem with black firefighters for some reason. Because from what I hear, all you do is talk bad about them.
See, that's people poisoning your mind with untruths.
Because I've listened to, someone sent me a email of some song you made about Yolanda Jones, the Councilwoman Yolanda Jones, when supposedly the thing came out about the fire station.
Wasn't that horrible?
That was not true. But I didn't hear Michael Berry come on Michael Berry's show. I didn't hear anything about you come on the show and saying, you know what, I was wrong. She did not do what she did. You did spin control on it and added something else to it that she shouldn't have been that person or something like that. But that's what I'm talking about, what you do. I mean, I remember when Otis Jordan was the president of the organization. You put Otis and you used to talk bad about Otis on your show. But yet when Otis was in the hospital, when he had his heart attack, you was up there so long, his mother had to put you out the room.
That's not true.
Okay.
Well, let me tell you this.
But what I'm saying, wait a minute, hold on, let me ask you one more question. I just want to know, what is your problem with the Black Firefighters Association?
Now, wait a second. You're going to say 8 things about me and then ask that question.
That's what I want to know.
When Otis Jordan, when I was on Houston City Council, Otis Jordan, who was a captain in the fire department, had a heart attack. Right. And just as I did, there were probably 3 or 4 firefighters who were injured or wounded or had serious medical conditions. And at that time, it was thought that that was a big deal, who were not black firefighters, but who were white firefighters, and one of them who was Hispanic because he got burned up pretty bad, who I went to the hospital.
Right.
Now, I guess I could stay away from the hospital if.
No, I didn't say stay away. I just what I was saying is that I heard you stayed so long that Otis' mother had to ask you to leave. Not saying you was in there talking bad about him or anything like that. You was in there to give him support.
Right.
But you stayed
as I did with
so
all
long
firefighters.
That they had to ask you to leave. Like, I guess were you in love with Otis at the time?
No,
and
I wasn't.
Later on, you started, not liking Otis, but I heard the song that you played about him and Robert Muhammad and Yolanda Jones. You talk bad about some song somebody made up and just dogging Otis out, talking bad about the guy. I mean, is that fair? Is that right? Well, we supported you, Michael Berry, and you know we did.
And you know what? Let me tell you this. I have a lot of friends who are black firefighters. A lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Name me one. And don't say Jeff Cannon.
Is he not a black
Don't say
firefighter?
Craig Joseph.
What's wrong with Craig Joseph?
I'm just saying, Jeff Cannon and Craig Joseph. We know you know Jeff real well.
Well, wait a second. You made the point. You made the point that I had my celebration event. I had all 3 every year, every election I won. Right. I had my event at the location of a place owned by a black firefighter, which I did.
Absolutely. Right.
But is that a bad thing?
No, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Why did you use his place?
Because he's my friend.
Only because he's your friend.
He's still my friend.
Okay, and he's still your friend. I believe that. I really believe that. So why do you have a problem with the Black Firefighters Association? If Craig Joseph is a friend of yours, and he's a member of my organization.
Well, okay, that's fine. I mean, if my next door neighbor was a member of your organization, it's nothing personal. I don't like. Here, let me answer your question.
Okay.
I do not like the attack on the fire department that I have seen that has come from the Black Firefighters Association, from Yolanda Jones, from Derek Muhammad, and that has been enabled by the media. The Draycott issue, I think the Draycott issue was drummed up. Okay. I think there was an alternate reason to do that so that the next fire chief would be black.
Okay.
And I think that a lot of allegations were made that not only were not true, I think a lot of the people who made those allegations do not believe they're true. They believed it was in the political interest because, as you recall, when that was going on, that was at the very end of Bill White's tenure, before the new mayor was coming in, and I think a lot of people who were black firefighters felt like, or not a lot, I think a few people who were very, very adroit at manipulating the media said, we need to make one of these issues so that we can get the next fire chief to be black because that'll be in our interest. I don't know if you did that. I do believe some people did that.
Okay, well, I didn't do that. And let me tell you, Jane Draycott is not black. Number one.
I know that.
She's a white female. Okay, EEOC did an investigation about Jane Draycott's complaint, and it came back that something happened to Jane Draycott. That's one thing for sure.
That's the EEOC. That's probably the worst governmental agency in America.
I don't know if that's to be true or not. I do know they did an investigation, and they ruled in Jane's favor, so something happened.
The EEOC
But
starts
James
with the
Draycott
premise
is
that something
white,
happened.
So why attack black firefighters for James Draycott's issue?
Because
Okay.
who jumped up at her defense and claimed that the fire department was full of racism, the black firefighters, on an issue?
No, that's not true. That's not.
There was another black woman brought in on all that. You know that.
No, she was happened to be working at the station that day. She hadn't been there, 3 months? She'd been there 90 days. She never had a problem there. But yes, she was a female at the time, and they did say some things derogatory about that particular female. So, of course, she was brought in, and she was drugged in some kind of way. I don't know what happened at 54. Do I believe something happened out there? Absolutely.
Oh.
Do I know who did it? No, I don't know who did it.
Now, why would you believe something happened if you weren't there?
It showed. They had it written all over the walls. Something happened.
Okay, then let me ask you this. If I write you cracker-ass cracker on my wall today, and I call the media over and I go, see, there's some black people. Maybe it's Gaylon Davenport. I don't know. It's just some black people out to get me. Look what they wrote on the wall.
Right.
Does that mean it happened?
Somebody wrote it. Even if you wrote it, somebody wrote it, right?
Well, but that don't make you a bad person. I mean, we can go back and look at the number of cases where this has happened. Gaylon, I got to take a break. We can look at the number of cases where this has happened. While there have been things, there has been discrimination, there has been racism in America's history, there have also been cases like Tawana Bazile, where Al Sharpton became famous on a case. A woman who had feces smeared all over her shows up at a police precinct naked as a jailbird and claims to be the victim of rape at the hands of white men, one of them a white cop. It didn't take long after this massive story till we found out she made it all up. What about the case of the Duke lacrosse players? Nobody wants to talk about that. Al Sharpton comes to town. Oh, the horrible things they had done to this woman. She was crazy. Shades of Draycott. She was a criminal. Shades of Draycott. And she claimed those rich white fraternity boys at Duke lacrosse had raped her. And it turns out she had stolen a taxi driver's car and tried to run him over before. And since then, she got in a fight with her black boyfriend, took all his clothes and put them in the tub and set them on fire while her children were in the next room and the cops were in the other room. She's crazy. Crazy! Okay? These things happen all the time. People know what they're doing. So let's wrap the interview up by saying, I don't have anything personally against you or any black firefighter. But I'm not going to watch as some people choose to politicize the fire department. And the fact that I've been nice to somebody black in my history doesn't prove that I'm a bad person or a hypocrite. I don't dislike black people. I stand for certain principles. That's it. And I can like somebody on a personal level and disagree with them on a political level. And that happens a lot. Plenty of times. When Quanell X and I talk off the air, it's a very pleasant conversation. So, I appreciate your call. I appreciate you being on with us. And we will have you on soon because I suspect this issue is not going away. I hope you feel you had an opportunity, a fair opportunity to make your point. But it still remains. Ain't hardly nobody white in the NBA.